Chapter 92, Taming Investigation. Luck finally smiled upon him as he quickly found an 8-headed diamond hydra guarding eggs. The beast was monstrously powerful, but also predictable in its sleep routine. One moment of carelessness was all he needed to steal one. Or so he thought, but one had saw him. The escape had been frantic. He had to hide in countless crevices and abandoned tunnels. He spent almost all his high-level potions just staying alive while ascending, and in the end, he had to return the egg. When he finally escaped and was returning to the surface defeated, having endured insane temperatures that only thanks to his gold beast he could withstand, and that could be called torture, his body still ached with the memory of that heat. Having suffered the constant stalking of powerful beasts, Luck finally smiled upon him, this time for real. He found that small vein at 350 meters, perfect for his purposes. He couldn't believe it. Below he had found 3 others, as they were more common the further down, but all were guarded by beast leagues above their real depth rank, impossible for him to defeat. He was sure not even the ridiculous Platinum King of Yano could defeat them. Small mana vein outlets were extremely rare at that height, but there it was. So he returned to the depth of 1,000 meters for 2 silver rank hydras. Difficult to find without golden rank company, but much easier to find and defeat than stealing the egg. If he had known there would be a vein, he would have done this from the beginning. He eliminated the first to obtain its core and weakened the second. Worthy opponents even 1 rank below him, but manageable thanks to him being a double tamer. It was easy to drag the weakened one with his griffin to feed from a vein, and to keep it guarding and molding the core until it became an egg while he obtained more scorpion cores. Everything had been meticulously calculated. The core would need weeks to recover enough energy to become an egg next to the Hydra. The Hydra would guard until he returned with the rest of cores. Taking would be easy when it had low energy, even if it had reached gold rank. But now, the next stretch of tunnel showed signs of recent activity. Fused worms and living tunnels had been excavating new routes, expanding territory. But something wasn't right. The excavation patterns were erratic, as if the beasts had been fleeing. Claw marks and pulverized rock told a story of panic and hasty escape. His steps accelerated. No, he thought while running. It's too soon. His calculations had been precise. The silver hydra should barely have reached gold. The egg should have barely formed. It couldn't have hatched. Worry grew when he found the first signs of massive destruction. Demolished walls, collapsed tunnels, traces of energy discharged against rock. Beast bodies lay scattered, some partially consumed. The Hydra had been hunting, spending energy it shouldn't have. Someone had interfered. Someone had provoked the Hydra to spend energy it shouldn't have in a chase toward the surface. After observing them for so long, attempting the same thing, he knew there could only be one reason. Someone had stolen the egg. When he reached the geyser chamber, he stopped dead. Empty. The massive crystal was still there, pulsing with pure mana, but there was no sign of the Hydra or the egg. He hated being right this time. Impossible! The hippogriff's wings manifested, reflecting their tamer's fury while examining the empty chamber. So much effort, so many resources spent, so many risks taken, all ruined because some idiot had stumbled upon his experiment before time. Who would have thought the mana vein would be so close to an exterior entrance? But there was no point in being angry. Fury was replaced by cold determination. He would find the responsible party. And when he did, the scorpion manifested its plates while he began the ascent. The work his king in Yano had given him was too important to allow interference. His princess would obtain the Hydra, and the cores must reach their destination. Yano must not suspect anything until it was too late. But at least he could go out for a while to take in the sunlight and recover his egg. Stealthy. The girl in the tree decided to investigate. The entrance guard didn't even notice her pass. Shadows were her natural allies, though not in the way many would assume. As always, her beast could transport her to any point in her line of sight, a gift far more versatile than most beasts, though she wasn't the only one who could do it. Her 2 cousins in class could too. How funny it had been that it ended up like this for all 3. So much effort to keep ourselves hidden, she thought while descending to the first levels. Her group had carefully dispersed throughout the classroom, mixing with normal students. subtly exchanging handmaidens when forming teams. And yet, a sigh escaped her lips. All that precaution had been useless when the enemy kingdom's eyes had so easily identified 4 of their 6 main targets in one classroom, though without doubt Klein's group were idiots bad at hiding it. The last 2 of them would probably be discovered soon, too. At this rate, the mine's upper level was practically deserted. Students had exhausted the accessible veins. The few students who usually dug weren't here this early. The mushroom boy had caused quite a stir, but she wouldn't hear gossip because there was almost no one. Unfortunately, at 100 meters, nothing changed. The mana wasn't bothering her yet either. Her beast, though technically iron rank, was an exceptional specimen, the type that only the most privileged families could afford. At 150 meters, she found the first signs of something extraordinary. The descent tunnel had been blocked, but the barrier showed signs of devastating impact. Rock melted and crystallized. A beam attack, it seemed, from a high-ranked beast. A guard hidden behind the rocks. Quite frightened, the slope was frozen. She had to look through the gap and appear far away so he wouldn't see her, though he really wasn't paying much attention. The guard was more occupied trembling and hugging his beast with unintelligible murmurs. Had Ren really gone down so far? How could someone with a spore survive that? She wondered while silently advancing. She thought it would just be another case of juvenile stupidity, but maybe this hadn't had anything to do with him. Chapter 93, Taming Investigation 2. Had Ren really gone down so far? How could someone with a spore survive that? She wondered while silently advancing. She thought it would just be another case of juvenile stupidity, but maybe this hadn't had anything to do with him. The destruction became more evident as she descended. At 250 meters, the mana grew denser. Her beast was superior to most in its rank, but even it had limits. She could already feel the pressure building, and the fused worms at this depth were truly massive, their segmented bodies casting grotesque shadows in the dim yellow light. The tunnels here were wider, the work of greater worms and living tunnels. But it seemed the enormous beasts had hastily abandoned their galleries, half-built structures telling the story of a panicked flight. Something had scared even these territorial creatures from their domains. One suddenly emerged from a hole and nearly crushed her against a wall, forcing her to perform 2 consecutive blinks to evade its segmented body. The effort made her stop to catch her breath behind a rock formation, the mana pressing against her senses like a physical weight. When she was given her mission, she hadn't expected to do this kind of thing. The worst part was that no one would know. No one except her handmaidens, of course. The thought almost made her smile. The girls everyone believed were simple noble followers were much more than they appeared. Cousins and handmaidens. 3 handmaidens for the 3 cousins, playing their parts perfectly in 2 teams. How had they already found the classroom, class, and school they were in? Was there a skilled spy in the school? Though the constant exchange of groups, pretending not to know each other, it was an entertaining game of actresses and also served as study for their future lives in high, noble positions. Learning to act and be a spy was part of why she was here. After all, watching her cousin was her original mission, though lately the headmaster, the only adult who knew the truth, seemed more interested in knowing about the mushroom boy than her cousin and the king's daughter. It was fine. She wouldn't have been able to fulfill the real mission anyway. She loved her cousins. Besides, her cousins had always been observant, even when pretending not to be. The mission would have failed. So the mission to watch Ren was better. She could take it more seriously and didn't have to lie in the reports. But this no longer had anything to do with Ren either. How could he have reached so far down with just a spore? Impossible. This couldn't have been his doing. My objective seemed to change too quickly. But I have to find out what happened here. At 275 meters, she found the first signs of deep assassins. Proboscis marks on the walls and remains of consumed prey. But something had driven them away. The territorial beasts had abandoned their usual hunting grounds. At 300 meters, the trail of destruction reached its climax. The mana was a bit denser now. Each blink required more concentration, and the rest periods between each use grew longer. A deep assassin emerged from a corner, its proboscis extended. She remained completely still. Deep assassins didn't hunt by sight. They depended on detecting vibrations, and right now she wasn't generating any. The assassin moved slowly, its sensors sweeping the area. Her previous steps must have alerted it. When the beast came too close, she panicked, took a step back, and used her ability, appearing several meters beyond. The assassin advanced to the location of the last step and stopped, confused. Its prey's vibrations had completely disappeared. The beast began moving in a search pattern, its sensors working methodically. She waited, studying its behavior. The assassin approached again. This time, when she transported, she did it behind a rock formation she had been studying, but it wasn't perfect. The sound of her landing was muffled, but not far enough. The assassin felt it. She needed a more distant target to lose it. The beast turned instantly toward the new vibration, its proboscis cutting through the air where she had been a second before. Her next blink took her to a larger tunnel, and she ran. The assassin pursued her, guided by her footsteps' vibrations. The signs of destruction were more evident here, pulverized walls and marks of recent combat. The assassin kept chasing her, but something made it stop. Its sensors detected something else, something that made the beast instinctively back away. A roar shook the tunnels. The girl, not having to worry about the assassin now and confident in her skills, peered cautiously around a corner. A hydra, its two heads covered in recent wounds. Her mother had told her about them, but two heads meant gold rank. What was it doing so high up? Normal hydras only had one head and lived at around 1,000 meters underground in the zone beneath the school. That was all that appeared in modern records. Information about multi-headed ones were relics of an earlier age, mentioned in texts so ancient that no one in Yano had bothered to verify. Her uncles or her father could have done it. Her father definitely had the power to obtain a hydra egg, but their interests had led them down other paths, to beasts they considered better. No one had wanted the hard task, or risked their life, if even a little, in an expedition beyond 2,000 or 3,000 meters of depth just for the possibility of finding a hydra egg. Its scales, beautiful as diamonds, gleamed weakly while it faced a figure she hadn't noticed before. The man, if it was a man, had two beasts. The hydra attacked with one of its heads, while the other tried to charge a ray. The man blocked the attack with his claws, the impact making the rock beneath his feet crack. She remained hidden, observing. The hydra was weakened, its movements slower than they should be, and the ray in its second head barely managed to form sparks. The man, on the other hand, seemed furious. "Where is it, idiot?" His voice resonated in the chamber. "How did you let them steal the egg? Now you'll be my new egg, a plan B." The hydra responded with another attack, but it was obvious it was rapidly losing strength. The man dodged and counterattacked with a brutal combination of his two beasts. Then, the golden hippogriff manifested completely outside his body, its 5-meter form filling the chamber. The abyssal scorpion remained fused with him, its influence evident. The mutations it caused different from anything she had seen in Yano. Yino, she thought while observing the mutation patterns. Father told me that only they have perfected fusion with abyssal beasts. He's like those from the attack with Professor Zhao. Chapter 94, Taming Investigation 3. The golden hippogriff manifested completely outside his body, its 5-meter form filling the chamber. The abyssal scorpion remained fused with him, its influence evident in the way his body had transformed. The mutations it caused were different from anything she had seen in Yano. They weren't subtle and stylized like their kingdom's methods. These were more bestial, as if he was becoming the beast rather than merely controlling its power. Yino, she thought while observing the mutation patterns. Father told me that only they had perfected fusion with abyssal beasts. He's like those from the attack with Professor Zhao. The hippogriff launched forward with impossible speed, its massive form moving with a grace that defied its size. The hydra tried to defend itself, but its movements were already too slow. In an instant of perfect violence, the griffin's claws cut cleanly through one of the hydra's diamond necks. The girl held her breath, watching in horrified fascination. A hydra's scales were legendary for their hardness, said to be impenetrable by normal weapons. That this man's beast could slice through them so easily. The head fell with a dull thud, while blood fountained from the severed neck. The hydra roared with its remaining head, a sound of agony and fury that echoed through the chamber. It will die soon, the girl realized. What a waste! she thought while watching the magnificent beast stagger. She herself had been lucky. Her own beast was superior by current standards. But seeing this understudied creature, its beautiful gleam even in its moment of defeat, it was time to leave. She had enough information. If the man was strong enough to kill a two-headed hydra, the girl began her own ascent, processing what she had witnessed. The headmaster needed to know about this. The presence of someone from Yino with beasts of that level, the hydra, the mentioned egg. In her last glance at the scene, she saw something that made her blood freeze. The man had slightly turned his head, his eyes focusing for an instant on the spot where she had been observing. She began blinking backward, using her ability to move between visual anchor points. One blink, then another, each taking her further from a battle. Her heart pounding. He had noticed her, perhaps not clearly, but he had sensed her presence. The light filtering through the infirmary window made Rin blink. His head throbbed, but the effect of the potion they had given him was making the pain fade gradually. Finally, Taro almost jumped from his chair. "Are you okay? I thought you had died." "What?" Rin tried to sit up, but the world spun momentarily. "Stay still." Taro gently pushed him back to the bed. "The nurse said mana poisoning is no joke. What were you thinking? Why are you here, the classes? Did your brain melt? Wei isn't at school today, remember?" Taro resettled in his chair. "And Lin left me here to wait for you to wake up and wait for punishment too. When she found out, I helped you escape training." "Lin already knows about?" "Oh, yes." Taro grimaced. "I confessed everything when she started threatening to triple my training and fail me in the battle unit. We were on our way when we saw you being carried out of the cave by the guards. But by then they were already bringing you to the infirmary." Rin closed his eyes, processing the information. "How angry is she? Let's say when you return to training, you'll wish you had died from poisoning." "Fantastic. And speaking of that," Taro leaned forward. "What the hell happened down there?" The guard seemed really shaken up. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" Taro raised an eyebrow. "Ren!" You were foaming at the mouth. Your veins were glowing brighter than your mushrooms. They carried you running to the infirmary. "I need a favor." "Oh, no." Taro crossed his arms. "You're not changing the subject that easily." "It's important and urgent." Rin tried to sit up again, this time more slowly. "I need one of the processed crystals for my room. For today's cultivation before Lin returns, and I lose the whole day's suffering." Taro looked at him as if he had grown a second head. "You're joking, right?" "No, I'm serious." "You just woke up from mana poisoning." "Exactly." Rin lowered his voice. "My body is more receptive now that the potion just finished its effect. It's the perfect moment." "The perfect moment to do what?" "Die." "Don't be dramatic." "Dramatic?" Taro stood up, his beetle briefly manifesting from agitation. "You almost died." "Sure." Rin looked to one side. "The nurse will throw you out if you shout." "Good. Maybe she should throw your brains out too, since you're clearly not using them." "Taro?" "No." His friend shook his head. "I'm not going to help you kill yourself. I've had enough with lying to Lin. Do you know how terrifying she is when she's angry?" "I do know. I'll owe you one." "You owe me like 50. And I'll take you to gold rank." Rin smiled weakly. "Please." Taro stared at him for a long moment, then looked aside, feigning disinterest. "I don't believe you, but fine. If you die, I get your stuff." "Deal." "And what you have in the bank." "Now you're abusing." Taro sighed dramatically. "Fine. What do you need?" "The usual process crystal." Rin lay back down. "And one more thing." "What?" Rin smiled mysteriously. "A hydra?" Lin frowned while the guard finished his story. "Are you sure?" "Completely." The supervisor nodded. "Two heads, transparent scales. I've never seen anything like it. And for it to be so close to the surface. And you say it was chasing Rin specifically?" "Followed him until it had to return from lack of energy." The boy must have really bad luck for a beast of that level to waste so much energy in a place without mana in a chase. Or maybe it was good luck because he survived. He even got us out of the initial surprise and suggested how to stop it. An interesting kid, shame about his beast, I guess he does have very bad luck, without doubt. Lynn processed the information. Something didn't add up. Ren wasn't weak, but his beast was, even with all his training. How could he have found a Hydra? How deep had he gone? And if that was the case, how had he survived so long at that depth? Thank you for your time. She turned to leave when something caught her attention. A presence in one of the nearby trees. This wasn't the kind of concealment a normal student would use. There was something semi-professional about it. Lynn took off running to the guard's surprise. Chapter 95, Tamer Relay. The presence vanished suddenly, as if it had never been there. Except Lynn knew that sensation. Her crane partially manifested its wings and slightly elongated her legs while following the trail. Her beast enhanced perception, tracking the faintest disturbances in the air. A flash of movement to her right. Someone appeared for an instant before vanishing again. Interesting, Lynn murmured. The jumps were becoming more abrupt now, almost clumsy in their haste. Whoever it was, they were more concerned with speed than subtlety. Another flash, this time to her left. Lynn adjusted her course, her crane helping her maintain the pace while analyzing the pattern of movements. "Why the rush?" she whispered while following the flashes of movement, her experienced eyes noting how each jump seemed to cost the fleeing figure more effort than the last. The chase led them toward a more densely wooded section. Clever, Lynn had to admit it, but not enough. The girl staggered upon appearing on the last branch before the administrative building. Her jumps had become clumsy, each transportation consuming more energy than the previous one. One last jump, she thought while focusing on the director's window. Her beast protested. Too many jumps in too little time, especially after the strain in the depths. "Your jumps are terrible today." "I didn't teach you to," the director began, having perceived her long before she arrived. When she appeared inside the office, her legs gave way beneath her. She held on to the edge of the desk to avoid falling. The director rose alarmed. "What happened?" "I saw." "Sit." The director quickly moved a chair toward her, his concern evident. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head while dropping into the chair. "Just tired. Too many jumps." "Are you sure?" "Yes. I was following the mushroom boy as you asked." She began, her breathing still agitated. "He entered the caves this morning." "The caves?" The director frowned, but then remembered. Wei is out today," his expression becoming understanding. "Economic troubles. Wouldn't be the first student trying to recover their investment, working extra in the mines. But I don't see how that's reason to." "It's not that." The girl shook her head. "They carried him out unconscious. Mana poisoning." "What? How far did he go?" "But that's not the important part either," she interrupted. "Yeah, I know." She managed between heavy breaths. "An agent in the caves, about 300 meters deep." The director straightened immediately. "What?" The boy went down to 300 meters. The director almost shouted, then visibly controlled himself. "And you followed him there?" The girl nodded. "Partly, yes. I don't know how far down he fell. They carried him out unconscious. It must have been coincidence. Then ending in mana poisoning. But that's not the important thing." "Of course it's important." The director began pacing the office. "You were supposed to just watch a normal boy from a safe distance. If something had happened to you, your father would have..." The Yino agent had two beasts, a gold rank hippogriff and an abyssal scorpion. The director stopped dead. "Explain." "Two beasts, a double tamer. And the scorpion mutation was unmistakable. Only Yino has perfected that technique." "Did you discover what he was doing so close to the academy?" "He was fighting a Hydra with two heads." The director visibly paled. "A gold rank Hydra? At 300 meters depth? Now you will tell me you engaged in combat." "No," she quickly denied. "I stayed hidden. The agent cut off one of the Hydra's heads. He was furious, looking for something, mentioned an egg." The director approached his territory map, his mind working rapidly. "Did he see you?" "Almost. At the end. I think he sensed my presence." "By all the dragons, how could you not?" The director stopped himself, remembering who he was talking to. "This goes beyond watching a suspicious student. I shouldn't have allowed..." "With all respect," She straightened in her chair. This is what I'm training for. Your father asked me to give you opportunities to improve your espionage skills. The director looked at her seriously. Not to put you in the line of fire of a territorial conflict. You can be a noble house spy or in the kingdom of Yino when your father gives your hand. Not in the deep caves at 10 years old. You put yourself in great danger, and I've improved. Nothing is 100% safe. I managed to follow the boy, discover the agent, and escape without being detected. Well, almost. The director sighed. She was kind of right, but the idea that something might have happened to her, the repercussions would have been catastrophic. Go to Professor Yang, he finally said. Tell him to start safeguarding the students of all years and alert the teachers' defense protocol. She stood up, her legs firmer now. Will you go alone first? If Yino is moving pieces of that rank so close to the academy, they must have a bigger plan. Go with Yang, then rest. You've done enough for today. The girl nodded and headed for the door. And the director stopped her, his tone softer. Good work. Though I prefer if next time you didn't risk so much. A small smile appeared on her lips as she left. She knew she would keep taking some risks. It was part of her training, and after all, she loved being a spy. The director waited for the door to close before taking out his special communicator. A Yino agent, a two-headed hydra, and always in the middle of everything. The mushroom boy had bad luck to always be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Outside, Lynn observed from her tree, remaining perfectly still while processing what she had heard. A student trained by the director, just as I train run. So it wasn't just my student doing foolishness, she thought while watching the director make his calls. An enemy agent in our territory. The question is, what did you really find down there, Ron? Here you go. Taro pulled out the crystal wrapped in black cloth and the tentacle from a bag, and the other things you asked for. Ren took only the tentacle and crystal with trembling hands. And, did you find them too? Yes. Taro nodded, nervously watching the infirmary door. But I still think this is a terrible idea. If she arrives before you are done, just don't let them interrupt me for a few minutes. I'm faster at the process now and quieter. Ren turned to look at the busy nurse, unwrapped the crystal, and positioned the tentacle over his stomach. He breathed deeply before beginning the absorption.